If you want to make sure that people actually join your membership during your launch, then you want to get these 3 things right. Hey, I'm Amber McDuffie, and in this video, I'm going to teach you what helped me to get the most members to join during my membership launch. So stay tuned to not only learn what those 3 things are, but how to do them correctly to increase your monthly revenue. Okay, so let's review the 3 keys to your launch success. So there are 3 things specifically that you want people to do, that you want to happen during your launch. And that is for people to opt in, for people to show up, and for people to engage with your content. Those 3 things together are going to help you to be very successful during your launch, so that it doesn't just feel like, oh, I released my membership site, or oh, I just released, whatever digital product or service that you're launching. In this case, we're talking about your membership site, and you're just kind of hoping that people opt in or join. You are going to have some control over this if you know what you're specifically looking for. You want people to opt in, show up, and engage. So for your opt-ins, I first want you to build your email list at least 1 to 2 weeks in advance before you start your prep phase. So once you get to the point where you are starting your Facebook ads and getting people to opt in that way, and this is why I recommend that people, even beginners, spend money on opt-ins, because it's such a high yield activity. People who opt in are very hot leads. So I recommend that that be someplace where you invest in your business, because this is going to matter in your launch. So if you have those people opting in 1 to 2 weeks before the prep phase, then they're going to start to get that first 5 email nurture sequence and start to get to know you and really start to warm up to you and become kind of that warm lead, instead of them just finding out about you the moment that you're starting to go into your launch phase. So it gives them time to warm up to you. Also, opting in is a very strong action. That is something more than someone just being curious. So you'll notice when you run your ads that you'll have some people to click on your landing page and take a look at your lead magnet, but they won't necessarily opt in. While those people are fairly, warm, and there's ways to retarget them, the opt-in action is so strong. It's them saying, I'm more than curious. I am willing to reveal myself. I am willing to tell you who I am by giving you my name and email address, and at minimum their email address, right? Because when you think about it, even when you're on social media, it's very easy for someone to hit that like button, for them to, scroll through your profile, because they're still hidden at that point. I mean, sure, the like button shows who they are, but there's very little there to say that they're truly interested. When someone opts in, they are now saying, hey, I am so interested in what you have to offer. I'm willing to tell you who exactly I am, that, hey, please, yes, raising my hand, please send that to me. So that is a very strong action that we are willing to spend money on. And so spending money on Facebook ads is a business move, okay? It's something that makes sense. It's not just a guessing game. It's not just like, oh, well, let's throw some money at Facebook. That is a very strong action that they're taking. Okay, also when people opt in, they are considered a warm lead for the next 30 to 60 days. Again, because now they've revealed themselves. And if you've got them on your list for about 2 weeks, they're still very warm, and they're even warmer now that they're getting emails from you, right? So at least for the first 30 days, they're pretty warm. Once they get beyond 30 days, if they haven't had to take any other action, if you're not showing them anything else, they are starting to cool off a little bit. But I would still say within that 30 to 60 day, you and your brand are still, fresh enough on their mind that if they see you again, then they're going to still know who you are, what you do, and be interested. All right, the show ups is the next thing, right? You want people to show up. So now that they've opted in, now you want them to show up for your stuff, now that they actually know who you are, by attending your live events. So whether that's your Facebook lives, or, some people go live on Instagram, or if you're running a webinar or a challenge or any other type of live event. Now, anything beyond just like a Facebook Live or Instagram Live, anything beyond that is going to be a little bit more advanced. You're welcome to do that on your first launch, but it's not necessary on your initial founding member launch, because those do take time to build, and I don't want that to hold you back from launching, because you don't need that. Like at this point, your membership site is so fresh that it is your excitement. That is your launch event. I'm opening up my membership site. That becomes your launch event. So you do not have to have a webinar or a challenge. You're welcome to do that, but don't let those things hold you back. All right, so let's take a look at how these work together. I'm sorry, this is supposed to be a fire emoji. I guess it doesn't work on PDFs. Anyway, so anyone who opts in and shows up, they are on fire. Consider this to be a fire emoji, okay? Those are on fire. If they've not only revealed themselves to tell you who they are, but they're actually showing up to the stuff that you're hosting, they are pretty interested. They are keyed into what you're talking about and what you have to say, okay? And that kind of stuff, that increases your conversion rate. Let's say when you do finally open up your membership and you get into your launch phase, these are the folks, these people right here are super hot, and they increase your conversion rates almost by double. I know when I had lots of things going, lots of lives and live events and YouTube videos that I was releasing, also with emails and things like that right before my launch, the people who were opting in and showing up ended up converting at like 70%. It was amazing. And industry standard is 20%. So this is what I contribute to that number, to that success rate. People who just opt in and maybe they aren't showing up for your live events, they are still warm. These are warm people because again, they revealed themselves to you and said, hey, I'm interested. So you still want to pay attention to them and continue to try to keep them as warm as possible with emails and posting and other things that keeps you in front of them, even if they're not showing up for your actual live events. People who just show up. So these are people who maybe follow you on social media. So maybe they have not opted in yet. They have not actually joined your list, but they are showing up for your live events. So they're lukewarm if they only just do that show up action, because here's why. Them showing up is still kind of a curiosity action. They are not having to reveal themselves to do that. People can watch your live event and you would never know that they're there, particularly if it's just on Facebook or Instagram. I believe on Instagram, maybe it starts to scroll through and shows you specifically who's watching, and Facebook does that a little bit as well, but I don't know that it holds on to that information, right? So after that event is done, you can't go back and say, well, who was that? And if there are ways to do that, please feel free to share in the group. But people who just show up are lukewarm. You don't want to ignore them. You want to keep showing up so that they'll eventually opt in. And in fact, when you do go live, offer them opportunities to opt in. Hey, click this link if you want to go grab my lead magnet. And so they don't have to get your lead magnet just by going to your Facebook Live. They can get your lead magnet through your Facebook ad. They can get it in other ways that you go live. You can provide that link. Okay, so if they are an opt-in and a show up, remember this is fire, super hot. The way you achieve that is by being visible. So once they've opted in, then you need to be visible and provide opportunities for them to show up, right? Other things that you can do is send them emails. That is considered being visible. You're in front of them. Now, sending an email to a lead that is older than 60 days, okay? An email that is older than 60 days, if they simply open your email and click the link, or open your email only and don't click the link, whatever that looks like, that is not necessarily the hottest thing. You still want to provide opportunities for them to show up or to opt in, because at that point, once they get a little bit older, now they're just curious, right? Now these are just curious people clicking through because they have access to your content because they're on your email list. So you want to still be inviting them. So what do you want to send them an email? Invite them to your live, schedule your live event so that at least when they're opening it and clicking a link, they have something to go watch. They have something to go see and maybe interact with, right? Posting on social media is another way to be visible so that you continue to kind of roll through their feed. But showing up live is a great way. And going live on Facebook or Instagram, it takes 10, 15 minutes of prep and then you go live. You don't have to record anything. You don't have to do a whole lot. It's something that you can kind of do on the spot. And I'm going to talk to you about that next. So what are you going live about? What are you being visible about? What are you even putting in your emails? What are you posting on social media? Because once you run out of that first 5 email nurture sequence, you're like, okay, now what? What am I even sending them? So I've got a content matrix, and so it can give you ways to constantly have your own content to go live about. I'm not feeding you this content. There's no one can tell you specifically what your audience needs but you. You know your audience. But here are different types of ideas that you can be generating to go live about. So think about the myths about your topic. So basically, you're going to choose 5 different topics that you can generally go live about that relate to your membership site content, to the problem that you solve. What are 5 subtopics that you can consistently go live about and talk about, right? So what are some myths within those 5 subtopics? What are some mistakes that people make within those 5 subtopics? What limiting beliefs do they have about those 5 subtopics? And so on, right? These are different types of content you can share within your areas of expertise, the content that you share. So let me give you an example of mine. Okay, so for example, if I help people with generating membership ideas and their content delivery, right? And notice how I didn't fill out every single place. Don't let this matrix overwhelm you. So some of the mistakes that people make is burning out on promising too much in their content delivery, right? So that is something that I can go live about and warn people, say, hey, don't go crazy when you are saying, hey, if you join my membership site, I'll give you this every single month and that every single month and this and that, and then you end up burning out on your business and you can't keep up with it. So that's a topic that I can go live about. Launching, I talk a lot about launching, right? So I can give hot tips on that, the 3 phases to a successful launch. This right here is one live. I could go live about that one time. Or, I'm on YouTube, so I can create a YouTube video about it, go live about the topic, send them over to my YouTube video. I can email them the link to my YouTube video or to my live. So basically, it's just giving me some different content that I can go live about. My dear Meredith, she's actually a member here, just social proof about how she launched her 3 and sold 3 of her courses using the launch strategy, right? So notice again, obviously I went kind of crazy in the Facebook ads because I just got excited and had a lot of things to think about. But you can, and it just kind of flipped over to the next page because I kept thinking there are a couple more topics that I can break this down into that I thought were really important, but don't feel like you need a lot because these topics should stay the same. I should always be talking about launching. I should always be talking about being visible. Notice how visibility, lives, webinars, all of that is actually part of launching, but I broke it out to kind of a separate subtopic because I know that there are other myths and mistakes and ways I can inspire people, right? Like even for Facebook ads, I'm gonna let them know, like, I lost some money on some Facebook ads because I was testing something out, but I was so glad that I did that test. I was so glad I did that test and learned that lesson so I can teach you guys, like, don't do that, because I was at a point in my business where I could do that. And so I just was grateful for that, to have kept going to a point where I can actually spend money to lose money just to test things out, right? So it's showing people you can't be afraid. There's no fear in Facebook ads, especially if you're following the right strategy. And I definitely have the right strategy for getting leads. And so in the meantime, I'm testing some other things. Okay, so going back to this, that is your content matrix. So I'll make that available for you to download. To choose your 5 subtopics and kind of start filling out different areas of your matrix. So now you know what you can go live about, and certainly be keeping in mind how it relates to your actual membership site. Okay, and then the final one is engagement. This is actually really heavy on you. So, while other people get to choose to opt in, they get to choose to show up. When they show up, you have to help them to engage. You can't expect that when they show up that they are going to interact with you. You have to interact with them. And the way you do that is by asking questions, and you get them to respond to you. Just write down in the chat, right? So, hey, where you guys, watching from today? Ask different questions about who they are. Like, for example, because I market to educators, I say, tell me, how many years do you have in education? Or what is your current role in education? Like, there's different types of questions that I can ask, to engage. Another way too is once you start building up where people are used to you going live and they're showing up for you, just tell them, hey, drop me a comment down in the bottom if this content is valuable to you. Just say, yes, Amber, this is valuable, and people, once they start supporting you and following you like that, they're happy to do those things because it does ignite the algorithm so that the social media platform will start showing your content to more people, and just kind of building your organic audience that way, and getting more people, getting your message in front of more people, and truly getting your message in front of your current audience. It's not even always about building your audience, but like who normally comes to your live. Make sure that Facebook shows it to them by getting engagement. All right, so those are the 3 keys to your launch success: your opt-ins, your show ups, and your engagement, right? So those are the three things that you want to make sure happens consistently throughout your launch process. And those are the things that you are measuring, like how many people opted in, how many people actually showed up. Were people actually engaged? So if one of those things is not happening well and you feel like your launch isn't going, as well as you would like for it to, go back and review these three things. So knowing this in advance helps you to know what to look for as you are launching. One common launch event that people can show up for and engage in is a webinar. So next up, I'm going to teach you how to create a webinar presentation for your membership launch. And I'll even share with you my full webinar that I delivered during one of my launches. So just click here to watch that next.